Well, I'm leaving Northfield right now. Actually, a lot to talk about. I have some updates from Southern Ohio. I have a lot I want to talk about from, I think it's Southern Kentucky. And I want to talk about tonight's races. Now, tonight's race. Mounts for All, I thought raced great. I knew at the 8th pole, if everything worked out well, we could be second. You know, when you give the 1 to 5 shot, the horse to beat the front end easily, and the only horses that can make it hard on them have just made breaks, kind of sucks. I'm thinking to myself, how do I win this race? I can't outleave anybody. And even if you get in a position where you're alongside, say, a disgruntled Carl going to the quarter pole, Mounts for All will hang out there and put you in a spot where it's just too easy not to park you. So I didn't think we would be able to make it to the front, but I did hope that, you know, they would soften each other up. You've got a horse that dug a dude on the rail, a decent horse. He's got the rail, right? And he has to know that just letting Hunter go easy in the first turn is admitting defeat an eighth of a mile into the race. So I'm thinking he's going to have to string Hunter. And if Justin leaves and then can't find a spot in the first turn, he's going to have to push on. In fact, Hunter's going to have to probably release him. Whether he removes or not will be up to him. But at that point, you got the 3 horses that I got to contend with have all strung each other out a little bit. And it makes for an optimistic looking outcome. But instead, as I'm retreating going into the first turn, the rail horse has already made a break. Hunter Myers has now landed on the front with the favorite and the horse to beat. And just as I look there, I said, well, maybe I keep going and he has to either park Justin or let Justin go and then I can attack and Justin's going to have to let me go. I don't know what I'm going to do. And just as I'm trying to play this out in my head, quickly, Justin runs. Now I'm screwed. I can't get to Hunter and he's not going to let me go even if I do. He can't. The other 2 favorites have exploded. He knows that. The only threat to him winning the race is me. Horse in the 2 holes, a long shot. The guy filling up the 3 holes, a long shot. Now I'm going to get in 4th, and I'm going to be first over. Now as we start into the stretch, there's a pretty good headwind coming down the stretch. And I don't want to move first over into that headwind right away. I would at least like to make it almost to the turn and have the wind behind me as I take a run at Hunter down the backstretch. But somebody had flushed me out, and just as they got me out and going, they run. Make a break. So now I'm first over. I'm thinking I should be able to beat the horse in the 2 hole. I look, it's Chris Lem's on the run. That's the other horse to beat. I should be second. I can't. You guys know me. I certainly don't have a defeatist attitude, but I just don't foresee a way that I can get from here to there and to the winner's circle unless Hunter's horse comes up flat, and he wasn't. He was strong getting into the last turn. I couldn't really make up ground in the last turn. He come on again. What I loved about Mounts for All tonight was the last 100 yards of the race were some of his best strides. So he understands his work. He's enthusiastic about his work, and he's doing it to the best of his ability, or at least a version of it. And I think when we get him to Indiana, that's his last start in Ohio for us. As we get him to Indiana, I think you're going to see a very good form of Mounts for All show up this summer. Really excited about that guy for this summer for sure. So that was this race. We go to Kentucky, and very frustrating. Paycheck Princess makes a break behind the gate for no reason. She hit her knee and made a break, but that's no reason to make a break. And the underlying issue is she's a coward. She's not a hard worker. She's been like that her whole life. Fooled Tim Tetrick, fooled Scott Zeron, and anybody that sat in behind her because she got a ton of speed. It just doesn't want to put out all the time. She did pop a curb. Did the racing surface and the curb play a role? Likely, I suppose. Yeah, likely. But just kind of bumped that knee and rolled off stride going in behind the gate. So that was part of the problem. I opened the RTN app and I'm watching Brace for Landing, and it dawns on me going to the gate, this is the open. You've put Brace for Landing in with open trotters. He is not an open trotter. I look at the entries for yesterday and today. There is no open 2. There's like a handful of trots. They have all the Kentucky Stakes for 4-year-olds on Monday, and they only have an open. So I'm a little bit angry to begin with. You guys know we're kind of going through that with. It frustrates me. I talk about it all the time about Mohawk putting Yo Mister in with looks like money. Well, we don't have a looks like money in Kentucky. We just don't even have a yo mister. We got a Brace for Landing. He's an okay horse, but he is far from he's as much an open horse as I said to Eric. He's as much an open horse as I am a ballerina. He is not an open trotter. Nice little horse, but not an open horse. Militant, gets away last, finishes last. Trot's okay, finishes last. So just to recap quickly from both sides of the spectrum, Brace for Landing goes on the track at 17-1 only because he is the inside. If he is anywhere north of 4, he's probably 50-1. Paycheck Princess is going away, 6-7-1, makes a break going up to the gate. Now she's on the qualifying list. Militant is like 1,000,000,000,000, but realistically, what's he, 17, 20-1, something like that. But again, only because he is the 3-hole. The only horse that raced good in Kentucky today was 3 Point Blue Chip. He actually raced good. And although him racing good means that he probably isn't coming to us right away, I'm okay with that. Just want to see the horse race good. I like the horse. I was happy for Ernie. I was happy for Julie, Tom, Charles Oliveira, and us, for sure. But circling back to our horses, you're getting a glimpse. Every so often, we're reminded why it is not effective to race long shots. After the race right away, I get some angry emails. Paycheck Princess is racing terrible. She's got to go. Why is this filly making breaks? Somebody said, she actually is a nice filly and is not living up to her potential. That is a super optimistic way to look at her. She's got a big engine, but just doesn't want to use it, right? Yeah, sure, her curb's probably hurting her, but yeah, she hit her knee going up to the gate. Do you know how many horses do that? Both those things that I just said? Plenty. But she'll make a nice racehorse for somebody, but I can assure you we will, over the next week or so, start talking about horses that are leaving, and I don't foresee a way that Paycheck Princess makes her way off of that list at all. So, Paycheck Princess, underwhelming. But again, when you look at Brace for Landing and Militant, a little disappointed with Militant, but I would like to maybe race him somewhere he could do. The problem right now is, and I'm seeing this now with widespread panic, is we can't get him in every day. Can't get him in every week, every day, yeah. Can't get him in every week. Get in last week, raced well, didn't get in this week because he's not Pennsylvania owned or sired, which only makes me want to send him to Indiana more, but I don't think he's ready for state competition. So I'm curious what we're going to do with him. Mel Gibbs Swan is not ready to go to Indiana yet. I know I'm going to hear people saying, Anthony, what, when can we get Mel out there? Mel's going to go out there when he's ready to go out there. You guys know that. And if we do, and I want everybody to pay attention to this, if we send Mel Gibbs Swan out there right now, it is going to be Kentucky from today over and over and over again. Can't race horses where they don't belong. We can't race them over their head right now. We fixed up what we hope we fixed up Mel Gibbs Swan. He should start to show a little bit more, and at that point, we can send him out there. But today was a very good learning tool. For those of you that don't know why we move horses or don't understand why we move some horses out, why do we sell this one? Why do we sell that one? Because when you start racing horses, and this is not Eric's fault, what we did was send a whole bunch of knives down to a whole bunch of gunfights, is what we did. They gotta go. Gotta go. Brace for Landing is not racing in the open. I told Eric if they don't fill an open 2, do not enter the horse. I'll just take him and race him at the Meadows or Northfield or Ontario or wherever we want. We can go to Ontario. He's only got 4 wins or something. We can race him in the condition claimer. The collector hopefully wins his way out of. I know we have a lot of money into Brace for Landing. Does that matter at this point? He can probably do in that 4-year-old and up non-winners of 50 claimer for non-winners of 10. Or the one below, it's like a 40 claimer. But they can do in there. They're good classes for those horses. I can tell you what's not a good class is the Open 1 anywhere on planet Earth for Brace for Landing. So maybe Minnesota. I just talked to Nick Lems this morning. And I think he said that the Opens are not going to be easy. They're going to be tough everywhere. If there's a number of it's very simple. I'm just going to ask him. That's all. So I do have to go over a number of these horses with Mr. Lems and just say, hey, do you feel that this horse is competitive? Is this a horse that can be useful? This is not about sending the best horses, right? We can't just do that. You just don't, poof, oh, we're going to send the best one. Oh, yeah, we'll send the best horse there. Can't do that. So what are going to be the most useful horses for us? And as I say this, we got to find horses for Kentucky. I think I'm continue to talk myself into it that Captain Incredible should probably end up in Kentucky. There's no need to continue to train him down here. I suppose I could send him back to Ontario. That's an option too. There's a lot of traveling for a horse that's supposed to be ready to go at some point. Actually, there's merit in what I just said. You can train on 5/8 and go to Mohawk and train also. 2 vet clinics right there, a pool. There's potential for that too. So as you can see, there's a lot of plates spinning in the air right now. Anyway, we can talk about all this stuff. We do, and we are going to have a list of horses that are probably going to be leaving us over the next 2 weeks, and I don't think anybody should be shocked by the horses that make it onto that list. Updates from today also. A number of people messaged me and just said, Anthony, why is Spitfire Overseas not in? Great question. So I got a message. I was talking to the veterinarian down there. I have a good rapport with Barry because when we first came over here, we were actually in Southern Ohio. If you guys remember, we were down in Thornville. So we got to know Dr. Carter well also, and that is where Delicious Stone was getting looked at. Now, good news is we sent Delicious Stone down to be treated. And I guess I was going to say bad news, but actually better news is Dr. Carter said he doesn't need it. He said, I'm happy to treat him, but I think there's an easier, much more or less invasive way to treat this horse, and I think he's ready to race, which is great. I trained him in 2-3, come off in 59 seconds 10 days ago with him. So that's good to know. Is there a class in Scioto for him? I don't know. I'll simply ask Stacy if there is. No Free Lunch did qualify the other day. I had a lot of people saying, Anthony, look kind of flat. Guys, please just understand, this horse is coming off 2 injuries in the last 6 months. Brett went in 58 last quarter and 27-4. Would you rather him qualify him in 55 and say he was sore after? This is a process. When you're coming back off a rehab and an injury, last thing you want to be doing is stretching horses out very slowly. We talked about how that buffer of 3 weeks for Looks Like Money may have gone a much longer way for us than you think as far as racing. He didn't get to race for 3 weeks, but we got 3 weeks of very guarded, kind of heavier work into him. And I just think we have to be very careful with a horse, especially like No Free Lunch. When you got horses that got big engines in them, but their rims got dings in them, so to speak, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with them. And I think that No Free Lunch, Stacy was happy with the qualifier. Brett was happy with the qualifier, which leads to Anthony being very happy with the qualifier. And so Spitfire Overseas, I talked to Barry about Delicious Stone. He said, you ready to go? He's good. He said, one little hiccup. The Spitfire horse, we did a stifle and did some vet work on him, but I did use some steroid, and we were a little too close in the injections, which that may sound odd to you. So you got to be very, very careful, especially in this day and age. Any sort of cortisones, even mild betamethasone or anything like that, there's quite a withdrawal. I believe it's 6 days. Now, I'm not sure because I don't train anymore, but I believe it's 6 days in Ohio. And Dr. Carter just said you were a little too close. I think we were 5+. And it just is too close for any sort of cortisone. You don't want to get into that. And so we weren't able to enter him this week, which is fine. I mean, obviously, I hear the same things you guys are echoing to me. He's been off 3 weeks. Why didn't we just rest him? It's a great question. There was no thought of him being off 3 weeks. We were going to give him a week. Then they didn't write an open one on the last week of Miami Valley. And then, of course, we did the work on him, and he's going to have to miss this start this Friday, I guess, or Saturday at Scioto. But he'll be back next week. I guess my only saving grace in that regard is I believe when the real heat comes, it might not be the best of times for Spitfire. You see how he lathers up. So just add in a nice little 30-degree Celsius day, 85 or 90 here. With no wind in Scioto and a stuffy paddock for a horse that raced on Lasix last year. I don't have to draw you that picture. It's not a very good one. So I think we rest him when he needs rested, and that will be sometime in the summer. And I think that will bode well for the remainder of the season for Spitfire Overseas later on and then into 2025. So a lot going on here. I'm going to take a quick look. Oh my God. Thursday, we have a ton of horses to race. Oh, no, that's Wednesday. Tomorrow, we have Lovers Play in Jayport Beach Boy. I don't really want to come back for the 16th race in the 8-hole, but I'm curious. I'm curious how Jayport Beach Boy is going to do. Then on Thursday, I'm not driving Kings County. I believe Brady, I think I can click on this. It still says Anthony McDonald. That's not correct. It's Brady. Oh, no, that was Gypsy Hill. Brady Brown is driving Kings County. 8-1 odds from the 7-hole in a 7-horse field. He's going to, I'm just going to tell him to feel him out. What I would like to see Brady do, if he has time, and I'm going to ask him, is maybe go last trip with Kings County. Now, he's a Lasix horse. You don't want to go much with him, but it would just scoot him along a little bit in the end of it, just to see how he feels in the hobbles, rather than just going out there and trying to feel around in the dark and say, if I wish I headed them a little looser, a little tighter, and sorry about him making a break. I think it's worth the risk. So that's probably what will happen with Kings County. I'd like to see a good race out of him. Gypsy Hill, I think, is coming in great. I saw Jason train him this morning. He looked fantastic. So did Irresistible Sun. So I'm actually excited about getting these guys going on Thursday. Drebin has the rail. Did James take Drebin? He did. Okay. He didn't take Ready for Landing. What a little Judas. Drebin on Thursday. Interested to see what takes place there. Sylvain's on George of the Jungle. Ready for Landing. Tyler Borth. Interested. This will be a watershed moment. If this guy goes on the run leaving the gate, he may be stateside next week, and that's certainly not meant as a threat. I can't continue to watch one step forward, two steps back, and I like the horse. I get along with him, and maybe I have a rapport with him. James, as I said to our clients the other day, jokingly but not really, James does not like driving Ready for Landing. He's not his cup of tea. He shut his air off last week. He was angry at himself and probably the horse a little bit over that. And if he comes over here, fine, but I'm not going to continue to. I just don't have all year to watch these slow motion train wrecks all the time. So if he doesn't get along well on Thursday, we'll probably move him out. We do have some horses going that way also, as I said, this week. Texan Soprano's back in. Is Scotty driving him? Yeah, Scott's there on 6-1, the open trot. He's in to go Thursday also. Hallie in the Clouds is in. Dominic was upset. He said, I put her in the filly. I thought I put her in the fillies and mares class. She came out in the straight one, but I looked at both, and the straight one looks every bit as easy as the fillies and mares one, so I wouldn't beat yourself up over it. I think you're in a fine place with her. And then Really Don't Care, a long conversation today. Well, actually, it's just as well. Really Don't Care was in that class. She's 10-1. Chris Christopher driving her. I had a great conversation with a client today, Al, and Al had said he was a little frustrated because he got the AGCO called and said, hey, your horse didn't qualify, you got to be licensed. After the qualifier, they called him, and he said, well, he was a little frustrated. I don't blame him. That's my fault, and I apologize to Al and my partners on him. I didn't let everybody know that Really Don't Care was qualifying. Now, Al is in New York, didn't really want to get an AGCO license, but she was training down in Ontario. She is in Ontario right now, and if she races decently at Mohawk, she might make her first start in Yonkers, but she may not. And this is a very important segue to what I was getting at earlier today, earlier in this video even. We are not, absolutely not sending our horses anywhere to a stake or anything else that can't do. Now, if you enter a horse, say we entered like Brace for Landing last year in the Beal, we were hopeful and we ended up catching a soft division, got lucky and finished second. We're not going to keep doing that, right? We're not going to. This is not helping. We don't cross our fingers going into the race and hope that we get somewhere with a long shot. If Really Don't Care can't do in the Sire Stakes, I'm not sending her to New York automatically right away. I will assess the entire playing board and say, maybe she'll race better at the Meadows or Northfield Park. And you might say, well, if she can race at Northfield, she can go anywhere. No, she can't. It's a different half-mile track. And if we send her to Saratoga or somewhere, that's fine. Five Fish Species raced in the numbers of 1, 2, and 3 all last year, and then towards the end of the season ended up doing really, really good things as she was maturing and growing up. Megan, Scotty did a great job managing her, and then lo and behold, she turned into a really, really good filly and ended up making the final. I think she was second or third in the Excelsior final. But we're not just shipping there to say, well, we have an Excelsior filly. I believe we do, so we're going to Yonkers. That's not necessarily a guarantee. We're going to send our horses where they can compete best we can, and I'm unapologetic about that. And for the people that maybe don't agree with that, that's fine. But that is how we are going to proceed moving forward. If we do not believe Really Don't Care as a stake horse, you are not going to see her in Yonkers on May 20th. That is an absolute certainty. So, which brings me to the other thing. Now the AGCO called and may have been a little stern with Mr. with, I don't want to say his last name, with Al. And that certainly wasn't just his fault. He'd sent an email saying, yes, I was a little curt, a little short with the AGCO licensing lady because they called me out of the blue and say, your horse qualified yesterday and you have to get licensed or you're going to be fined. So there's a little bit of fault on both sides. One, it lies with me in the stable to ensure that Al and everybody else that are my partners on A Horse Like Really Don't Care are made aware that the horse is qualifying. Now, I might have taken it for granted because she trained down at Mohawk, that obviously she was going to qualify there, and maybe Al didn't know that you had to have a license to qualify, but you do. But again, I'm not going to ship her to New York to qualify her because we don't want to get licensed in Ontario. I'm going to let this play out, and that's why she's in to go at Mohawk. Which leads me to the most important thing. I want everybody to understand that if the AGCO calls you and catches you off guard or at a bad time, please just take a deep breath, right? Because they don't really care if you're upset or if you're angry, right? There's a reason I know that how this conversation took place, because the judges called me. So remember, please remember, the AGCO licensing crew is still an arm of the AGCO, and the judges are not always that keen on people flipping out at their licensing agents. So luckily, I knew the judge and I know the licensing agent, and I had said, to Judge, to Dave, I said, I apologize. I said, obviously, probably just caught him in a bad moment. They're really nice gentlemen. Most of you guys are. All of you guys are, for the most part. Just remember, when you have a licensing agent or a judge, for whatever reason you have to talk to one on the phone, beware. I don't want to see anybody get in trouble, and I certainly would rather it not blow back on the stable. There's zero hard feelings. I've been exactly where Al has been. I've probably been a little curt with maybe a New York licensing agent at some point, or a New Jersey one. I know where you're coming from. I've been there. But just take a deep breath and realize that they don't really care what we think. They're there to do a job, and the last thing we want to do is see anybody get fined or in trouble over something silly. So my message to you, I want everybody to understand, I don't care about any of that stuff. It means nothing. But what does mean everything, and I want everybody to be on top of your licensing, please, as we head into the latter part of May into June. Remember, our 2-year-olds are going to start qualifying in June. In fact, I'm happy to report, and I will over the next week or so, we have a great rapport here with the people in Ohio. They are going to allow us to have our open house on June the 2nd. And the reason I picked June the 2nd, I couldn't do the 9th because it was the day after the Milstein and they were busy. The place probably would have been in shambles. I didn't want to do the 16th because it was the 16th, because it was the day after the North American Cup. So it was the 2nd or the 23rd. The 23rd is not going to work for us because we have horses that potentially could go to New Jersey for the 28th, or Kentucky, which is like the 26th or 27th. It's just too close. So the only date we could do our open house is on June the 2nd. The reason I'm saying this is they've allowed us to open up qualifying days on the Sunday, June the 2nd. They are going to move a qualifying day for us to have an open house where we have official qualifiers there. So we are going to make a spectacle of our babies if we can on June the 2nd. Now, Scotty has informed me that he has some stakes that day at Tioga, but he believes he's still going to come to Ohio instead and go with the horses. He said, I can't guarantee it this second because I don't know if there's going to be a killer come along that I got to pick up. But as of right now, today, I believe I can come. I believe my brother Mark is going to come over. I don't know about James. I'm going to ask him too. I hope he can, but we'll see how that plays out. It should be a ton of fun, and that will be June the 2nd. That'll be our qualifying day. Now, the reason I bring this up, please, everybody, make sure you're getting your licenses taken care of as we head into June. I don't want to have any angry phone calls from a client saying the AGCO called me and said that the horse can't qualify or they're going to fine me if they don't. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to have that happen to you. I don't want to have that happen with them. I want this to be a seamless production. It never is. But we still should try to make it that way. So understand, this is your end of the spring warning. Licensing is due before the horses qualify. Please, if you could take care of that, that would be great. If you need any help with your licensing, just let me know, right? I can reach out to Linda, and Linda can help take care of that. That is why I'm here. That is why she's here, so that everybody can have a great time, both the end of the spring into the summer with our qualifiers, and then as racing starts this summer. So with that, I'm going to let you go. A lot to talk about tonight. 25 minutes for one race in Northfield. But I did want to make sure that I explained what my thought process was with Brace for Landing, Paycheck Princess, and Militant. None of those three should race next week in Kentucky, especially Brace for Landing, not in the Open. If they don't write an Open 2 and they don't fill that class up for him, he can just head out and race somewhere else. Paycheck Princess needs to qualify. She will likely qualify, get a line on her, and then she's gone. Militant, we'll see what plays out with Militant. I mean, I'd like to see the horse do some good. He looked like his gait was good today, but 9th is 9th. 20-1 is 20-1. So that is where we're at. Note of the day. Try not to race long shots. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you all very soon. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Great race from Mounds for All Night. Really, really proud of what that horse has become and rounded into. You know, coming up on or right around 20,000 made already in 5 starts, 3 wins, 2 seconds. A great start to the year from a horse that we all watch closely. This is Tactical Mounds' younger brother, so who knows? Take care. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, I'm sure. Go to bed.